and support the distinctive cultures Māori, Pacific and other in New Zealand.
Speaker.
Holly Walker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm pleased to rise to speak on the Arts Council of New Zealand Toi Aotearoa Bill as the Green Party's new spokesperson for arts, culture and heritage. The Green Party supported this bill at the first reading because we were interested in hearing how it would impact on the arts community, especially Māori and Pacific arts, at the Select Committee. Now, Mr Speaker, I was not in Parliament for the first reading of this bill, nor was I on the Government Administration Committee when it considered this bill, but I have read the Hansard and I've acquainted myself with the Select Committee report. I've consulted with my colleagues, and we have heard the concerns of some key stakeholders, particularly Māori and Pacifica artists. And so it is with some regret, Mr Speaker, that we advise the House that after those processes, the Green Party finds itself unable to, on balance, continue to support this bill. So, Mr Speaker, the Green Party will oppose the bill tonight at second reading, and will continue to oppose it at the committee and third reading stages. And the primary reason that we've decided on balance to change our position on this bill is that we remain extremely concerned about the impact this bill will have on the Māori and Pacific arts communities in particular. As we've heard from other speakers, this bill replaces the Arts Council of New Zealand Toi Aotearoa Act 1994 and restructures the Arts Council of New Zealand, otherwise known as Creative New Zealand. Now, at present, Creative New Zealand administers the Arts Board, it administers Te Waka Toi, a Māori Arts Board, and it administers the South Pacific Arts Committee, a Pacific Nations Arts Board. And this bill disestablishes Te Waka Toi, it disestablishes the South Pacific Arts Committee, and it streamlines the Arts Council into one 13-member board. Mr Speaker, I acknowledge that the bill would provide for 4 seats on that board for people who have at least a regard for or an understanding and knowledge of Te Ao Māori, Tikanga Māori and Māori arts. And I also acknowledge it makes similar provisions for 2 seats for members with similar understandings and knowledge of Pacifica arts and culture. And I appreciate the change that has been made by the Select Committee to strengthen the requirement for Pacifica cultural knowledge on those seats. Mr Speaker, the Green Party understands that there may be some opportunities for Māori and Pacifica arts communities associated with having those seats at the table, if you like, at the top table of the body making key decisions about arts funding in Aotearoa, New Zealand. And that was part of the reason for our initial support of this bill. But we feel that those potential opportunities don't outweigh the potential damage of disestablishing those 2 bodies, Te Waka Toi and the South Pacific Arts Committee. And conversations with Māori artists and key stakeholders have revealed, in our experience, that there's a strong desire from Māori for an independent Māori Arts Council administered by Māori for Māori. Mr Speaker, we believe that is consistent indeed with the Treaty of Waitangi and the partnership that document creates for there to be an independent Māori Arts Council body. And we're very concerned that the ability to replicate the level of community engagement that Te Waka Toi currently undertakes will not be carried over into the new so-called streamlined body. Similarly, we believe that a standalone Pacifica Arts Board like the South Pacific Arts Council is important because of the diversity of Pacific cultures which are represented in New Zealand society today. We are, Mr Speaker, a Pacific nation afloat into Moana Nui a Kiwa, as my colleague Catherine Delahunty said at the first reading of this bill, and some of the most exciting, vibrant, challenging art practice in New Zealand is coming from Pacifica artists, musicians and writers. But, Mr Speaker, the Pacific is a huge geographical area, and culturally there's a rich diversity of Pacific peoples and cultures from many Pacific nations engaged in the arts of New Zealand. And we're concerned at the restriction to 2 seats on the Council for Pacifica community representatives, that the diversity and distinction and difference between those Pacific cultures will not be adequately represented in the new structure. Mr Speaker, it's been somewhat difficult to judge the impact of this bill from the submissions received at the Select Committee alone, because there weren't many, and what we've heard from a previous speaker, and which is echoed in the feedback and the informal feedback that we've had, is that actually there may be quite a high level of concern about this bill in the arts community from people who felt unwilling to make a submission at the Select Committee because they don't want to prejudice their future funding and their engagement with Creative New Zealand in future. So, Mr. Speaker, I think it's very important to ensure, and incumbent on us as parliamentarians, to have that in the back of my mind to make sure that we are not railroading in here an unhelpful change that the sector, in fact, is not confident about. Because, Mr. Speaker, the arts sector is very important in New Zealand. We have a strong creative sector, and with the right support, the arts have the potential to become a significant non-agricultural export industry in New Zealand, in fact. But that won't happen without sound leadership, it won't happen without strong government support, and it won't happen without good strategic planning. And that's why we're also disappointed to see and to hear in his speech earlier the Minister dismiss strategic planning in the arts sector as red tape and a waste of time. That suggests to me a very dismissive attitude towards the arts in general that doesn't recognise its vital role in New Zealand's culture and in our economy. And strategic planning, we think, is very important to enable that to continue to thrive. So, Mr. Speaker, we have a number of concerns with this bill, and particularly with the disestablishment of Te Waka Toi and the South Pacific Arts Council. We feel that the richness and diversity of Māori and Pacifica art communities will not be adequately represented in the new structure created this bill. And for that reason, the Green Party will oppose this bill tonight and at future stages. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker,
John Hayes.
I find it really